$10 purchase turns human mechanic into the richest emperor in the galaxy. The small repair shop he ran barely made enough credits to cover rent, let alone food. But Jax loved this work. He loved the hum of machinery, the challenge of solving problems, and the small victories when a broken engine purred to life again. Humans like him were a rarity on Kestrel 7. Most colonists here were aliens scaled, feathered, tentacled, or otherwise strange. But Jax's people had always been adaptable, resilient, and clever. While most aliens relied on sheer strength or advanced tech, humans relied on wit and ingenuity. Jax prided himself on that. This morning was like any other. He had just finished repairing a mining drone for a client who grumbled about the price and left without saying thanks. Jax was wiping his hands on a rag when the colony loudspeakers announced a last-minute auction in the market square. Normally, he ignored these auctions. Most of the items were scrap, junk, or overpriced trinkets. But something about today's announcement caught his attention, an unmarked crate rumored to hold something special. He shrugged and checked his pockets. 10 credits. That was all he had to spare. Not enough for anything useful, he muttered, but curiosity gnawed at him. With a sigh, he decided to take the risk. If nothing else, it would be an adventure. The market square was chaotic as always. Merchants shouted, aliens bargained loudly, and auctioneers called out deals in multiple languages at once. Jax pushed through the crowd until he reached the small, dusty crate. It was unremarkable small metal with strange symbols etched faintly on its surface. The auctioneer's voice crackled over a speaker. Starting bid, 10 credits. Jax's heart skipped a beat. That was exactly what he had. Without thinking, he raised his hand. 10 credits, he said, and the crate was his. The crowd murmured. A few bidders had tried to raise the price, but it seemed they didn't care much. Jax felt a thrill as he carried the crate back to his shop. 10 credits. He didn't know what was inside, but somehow he felt that this small, impulsive purchase might change everything. Back in his workshop, he set the crate on his workbench. The symbols glowed faintly under the flickering light. He hesitated, then pried it open. Inside was a small device, no bigger than a toolbox, with panels, buttons, and strange inscriptions. It hummed softly, as if alive. Jax had repaired plenty of alien tech before, but this was different. He carefully inspected it, flipping switches and pressing buttons. At first, nothing happened. Then, with a soft whir, a piece of scrap metal he had set nearby transformed into a perfect alloy cube. Jax stared in disbelief. He tested it again. A broken engine piece became a fully functional replacement part. He realized, with a mixture of awe and fear, that the device could transform objects into more valuable or functional versions of themselves. This could be huge, he whispered. Word spread quickly. By the next day, curious traders and small-time criminals were asking Jax about the device. Some wanted to buy it, others wanted to steal it. But Jax was clever. He had grown up repairing machines, and he had a sharp mind for problem-solving. Using traps, decoys, and clever hiding spots, he kept the device safe. He began experimenting. With the device, he could convert cheap metals into rare alloys, broken tools into advanced gadgets, and even basic energy cells into high-output power cores. With each experiment, he learned more. The device wasn't magic. It followed logical rules that Jax could figure out with patience and creativity. Within weeks, his fortunes began to change. A single batch of alloy cubes sold to a local shipbuilder earned him enough credits to rent a larger workshop. He hired 2 assistants, a human engineer and an alien tech specialist, to help with production. Jax was careful, though. He knew that the device's true value lay in secrecy. If larger powers discovered it, he could lose everything. The humans and aliens in his colony watched in amazement. Jax, who had once been just another struggling mechanic, was now running a small but powerful business. He didn't flaunt his wealth, but people noticed the improvements he made. clean water for the colony, better energy grids, and repaired starships that had been abandoned for years. Jax's cleverness and resourcefulness were turning him into a local hero. But not everyone was happy. Small gangs and rival traders tried to steal the device, breaking into his workshop multiple times. Each attempt failed. Jax used traps, puzzles, and misdirection to protect his prize. He realized that raw strength alone wasn't enough. He had to be smarter, faster, and more inventive than anyone else. And he was. One evening, as Jax worked late on a new project, a message arrived via the colony's secure network. The sender, a galactic trader guild. The message was short and to the point. "We know what you have, we want it. Meet us at the station tomorrow or face consequences." Jax leaned back in his chair, rubbing his tired eyes. The stakes had just gone up. He wasn't just a small-time mechanic anymore. He held something that could reshape the balance of power in the galaxy. One wrong move, and he could lose everything, or worse. But Jax wasn't afraid. Humans had survived on wits and courage for centuries. He knew that raw power wasn't always the answer. Strategy, cleverness, and the willingness to take risks were just as important. He smiled to himself. The galaxy had just opened a door for him, and he was ready to walk through it. The next day, Jax boarded his small transport ship, taking the device with him. The station was bustling with traders, mercenaries, and curious onlookers. He met the guild representatives, a group of imposing aliens with cold, calculating eyes. They offered him a fortune for the device, more credits than Jax had ever imagined. But he hesitated. He had learned something important in the last few weeks. Wealth wasn't just about money. It was about control, opportunity, and the ability to make a difference. If he sold the device now, he would be rich, but someone else would hold the power. Jax had a better idea. "I'll consider your offer," he said, smiling politely. "But first, I have some plans of my own." As he left the station, Jax felt a rush of excitement. The $10 purchase that had seemed so trivial was now a catalyst for something far greater. The galaxy was vast, full of challenges and dangers, but he was ready. He had his skills, his ingenuity, and now, a device that could change everything. And so, the human mechanic who had once struggled to survive on a dusty colony planet was about to embark on a journey that would take him to the heights of wealth, power, and influence. A journey that no one, not even the oldest alien empires, would see coming. Jax Corbin looked at the stars, shining bright beyond the station's windows. Somewhere out there, the galaxy waited, full of opportunities and dangers. But one thing was certain: humans were not minor players anymore. They were survivors, thinkers, and now, with a little cleverness and a mysterious device, they were about to become something even greater. The $10 crate had changed his life. And for Jax, this was only the beginning. The hum of machinery had become Jax Corbin's constant companion. His workshop, once cramped and dusty, now stretched across a small complex, filled with tools, workbenches, and devices that hummed with energy. But it wasn't just machines that kept him busy. Jax had become a businessman, an inventor, and slowly, a leader. The $10 crate that had seemed like a small gamble had turned into a galaxy-changing tool. The device inside could transform ordinary materials into valuable or functional goods. Jax had discovered that it could replicate energy cores, create rare metals, and even repair starships faster than any factory could. But more importantly, he had learned the device's greatest secret. Its potential grew when combined with clever human ingenuity. Jax knew the galaxy was watching. Word of his success had spread beyond Kestrel 7. Traders whispered about the human mechanic who could produce the rarest alloys and power cores. Small colonies sought his help to restore failing infrastructure. And rival aliens, who had once ignored humans as weak and insignificant, now looked at him with curiosity and fear. One morning, Jax stood on the balcony of his newly expanded workshop, overlooking the bustling colony. His two assistants, Lyra, a human engineer, and Zelth, a four-armed alien tech specialist, were busy calibrating the device for a new project. A batch of energy cores had just arrived from a nearby mine, and Jax planned to convert them into highly efficient units that could power entire colonies. "We could sell these to 3 major colonies," Lyra said, wiping her hands on her jumpsuit. "They'd pay triple what we paid for the raw cells," Jax nodded. "Or we could keep one batch for ourselves and use it to expand. We need fleets, transport ships, and warehouses if we want to scale this properly." Zelth adjusted a dial on the device. "And what about the traders from the guild? They're asking for meetings more often now. Some of them are not as polite as the first time." Jax smiled faintly. "Let them come. They'll find we're always one step ahead." The human mind thrived on challenges, and Jax's cleverness had become his greatest weapon. He didn't rely on brute force or intimidation like many alien leaders did. Instead, he used strategy, innovation, and an uncanny ability to foresee consequences before they happened. As the weeks passed, Jax expanded his operations. He bought old starships from scrapyards, repaired them, and outfitted them with advanced engines created using the device. He hired humans and aliens alike, forming a team that respected ingenuity over species or size. His small fleet of ships became a symbol of his growing influence, but with power came threats. A gang of smugglers tried to steal the device, breaking into his workshop at night. Jax had anticipated this. Using a combination of decoys, mechanical traps, and clever illusions, he caught the intruders without a single casualty. The smugglers were humiliated, and their gang dispersed. Stories of Jax's cleverness spread quickly, not as a warning of violence, but as proof that humans were resourceful and dangerous in their own way. One evening, a holographic message flickered to life on Jax's workbench. "The sender, the Galactic Trader Guild. We are impressed by your recent successes," the message said. "However, we remind you that the device is of great interest to many powerful parties. You may not remain safe indefinitely. Consider selling it to us for a fair price." Jax leaned back in his chair, thinking. "Safe, yes, but where's the fun in selling out?" he muttered to himself. "The galaxy is full of opportunities. Why give them to someone else?" Instead of selling, Jax began using the device to solve real problems for small colonies. One settlement was dying because its energy core failed. Using the device, Jax replicated the core and restored power to the colony within hours. Another planet suffered from poisoned water supplies. Jax designed filtration units using rare metals created by the device, saving thousands of lives. Each act earned him respect, not just from humans, but from alien communities. They began to see that humans were not only clever but also moral and strategic leaders. Jax's reputation as a fair and inventive problem-solver grew, and small alliances formed around him. But the galaxy was not so kind. A rival faction, the Krathar Syndicate, controlled several mining systems and despised the idea of a human amassing power. They launched covert attacks on his shipments and tried bribing his assistants. But Jax, anticipating their moves, countered each attempt. He used misdirection, encrypted communications, and automated defenses to outsmart them. For every attack, he learned, adapted, and became stronger. Humans, Jax realized, had a unique advantage. Unlike the Krathar, they were unpredictable. They solved problems in ways aliens could not imagine. Jax began to exploit this trait, creating plans and technologies that were elegant, efficient, and entirely human in design. His fleet, his colonies, and his reputation expanded at an astonishing rate. Months later, Jax convened a council with his closest allies. "We're at a turning point," he said, pacing in front of a holographic map of the galaxy. "The Krathar and other factions are watching us. They think humans are weak and will crumble under pressure. We're going to prove them wrong. but we need to expand carefully, strategically. Every move must be calculated. Lyra raised an eyebrow. You're talking about empire building. Jax nodded. Not an empire of conquest, an empire of innovation. We'll use brains, strategy, and technology to outpace anyone who thinks humans are insignificant. We'll show them that humans can not only survive but thrive. The plan was ambitious. Jax's fleet would establish trade routes, provide humanitarian aid, and invest in infrastructure across multiple colonies. He would also secretly supply allies with advanced technology created by the device, strengthening bonds without revealing the source. The idea was simple. Humans didn't need to fight to win. They needed to think, adapt, and inspire. Soon, Jax's influence became impossible to ignore. Colonies that once relied on the Krathar Syndicate began approaching him for aid. Traders sought his partnership, and smaller factions pledged allegiance. The galaxy was slowly recognizing that humans, once overlooked, were now key players. The turning point came when a Krathar fleet tried to blockade one of Jax's supply routes. Instead of engaging in a bloody battle, Jax devised a clever ruse. He created illusions of additional ships using holograms powered by the device and diverted the fleet away from the colony. The Krathar, thinking they faced overwhelming forces, retreated. It was a victory without a fight, a clear demonstration of human ingenuity over brute force. As the months passed, Jax continued to expand. He acquired abandoned stations, repaired derelict ships, and created new trade hubs. His fleet became a symbol of innovation and hope. And yet he remained humble. Despite his growing wealth and power, he never forgot that everything began with a $10 crate and curiosity. One evening, as he looked out at the stars from the bridge of his flagship, Lyra spoke softly. "You've changed everything, Jax." "Humans, we've never been seen like this before," Jax smiled. "We've only just begun. The galaxy has a long way to go before it realizes what humans can do, but step by step, colony by colony, we're proving it." And he was right. The galaxy was watching, and the human mechanic from Kestrel 7 was no longer just a clever tinkerer. He was a rising force, a leader whose strategy, morality, and ingenuity were reshaping alliances and redefining power. By the end of Part 2, Jax Corbin had become more than just a wealthy mechanic. He was a symbol of human potential, a living testament to the idea that cleverness, courage, and compassion could outmatch raw power. His journey from a $10 gamble to galactic influence was only the beginning. The stage was set for the ultimate challenge, the Galactic Council itself, a body of rulers who had once dismissed humans as minor players. Jax knew that if he wanted to secure his position, he would have to face them not with weapons, but with strategy, brilliance, and the undeniable proof that humans could lead. And somewhere deep in his mind, Jax felt the thrill of the unknown. The galaxy was vast, full of dangers, rivals, and mysteries. But for the first time, a human was ready to meet those challenges head-on. The $10 crate that had seemed insignificant was now the spark of a movement that could change the galaxy forever. And Jax Corbin, the human mechanic, was ready to become something even greater. The galaxy had changed since Jax Corbin had bought the unmarked crate for 10 credits. Once a struggling human mechanic on a dusty colony, he was now a figure of power, influence, and respect. His fleets patrolled trade routes, his colonies flourished under his guidance, and his inventions had saved countless lives. Yet the ultimate test still awaited him. The Galactic Council, the ruling body that had dismissed humans for centuries as insignificant, now summoned him to stand among the greatest powers in the galaxy. Jax's flagship, the Ingenium, glided through the star lanes toward the Council's capital. He stood on the bridge, looking out at the swirling nebulae. Around him, humans and aliens alike worked efficiently, following his orders not out of fear but out of respect. Every crew member knew the story. A $10 crate had turned their leader into a force capable of changing the galaxy. "Are you nervous?" Lyra asked, stepping beside him. Jax shook his head. "No, nervousness isn't useful. We're prepared and we have something most of them don't, human ingenuity," Lyra smiled. "I just hope they see it the way we do." "They will," Jax replied. "They have no choice." When they arrived, the council chambers were vast and imposing. Alien rulers from every corner of the galaxy had gathered, each with symbols of wealth, power, and influence. Some looked at Jax with thinly veiled disdain. A human mechanic among them. Preposterous. The council president, a tall, crystalline alien named Vorath, spoke first. "Jax Corbin, you have achieved what no human before you could, but power comes with responsibility. We wish to know, what is your intention?" Jax stepped forward, projecting confidence. "My intention is simple. I am not here to conquer or destroy. I am here to show that humans can lead, innovate, and solve problems that the galaxy has failed to address. I offer partnership, trade, and solutions, not tyranny." A murmur went through the council. Some were skeptical, some intrigued. Jax continued. "The device I possess can create resources, energy, and technology that no one else can. But I will not use it for selfish gain alone. I will use it to rebuild failing colonies, restore lost trade routes, and help all species survive and prosper." A representative from the Krathar Syndicate, their once feared influence now diminished, scowled. "And if we refuse your offer," Jax smiled, "then you continue to struggle while the galaxy adapts around you. Humans do not rely on fear or brute force. We rely on thought, innovation, and clever planning. That is our strength." The council was silent. For the first time, they had to consider humans not as minor players, but as equals, strategists, and innovators who could reshape the balance of power. Outside the chamber, Jax's fleet was in place, not as a threat but as proof of his organizational genius. His colonies thrived, his allies respected him, and his reputation as a fair and brilliant leader had spread. The galaxy had already begun to follow him. Vorath leaned forward. "Your claims are bold, human. Can you prove them?" Jax nodded. "I will." He gestured to a large holomap of the galaxy displayed in the center of the chamber. "This sector is dying. Trade routes are blocked, colonies lack energy, and resources are scarce. I have the means to restore them. If the Council grants me the authority to act, I will bring prosperity and stability. If not, the sector will continue to collapse under inaction." The Council members exchanged glances. They had not anticipated this approach. No threats, no war, only a clever solution backed by results. Vorath spoke again. "You offer assistance, yet you control a device that can create nearly anything. How do we know it will not be used against us?" Jax leaned slightly forward, meeting Vorath's gaze. "The device is only useful in the hands of someone who understands responsibility. I have already demonstrated that I prioritize strategy, morality, and the welfare of others. Power without guidance is dangerous, but I offer proof. My colonies, my fleet, and my actions speak louder than threats ever could." A silence followed. Then slowly, the council president nodded. "We will grant you authority, Jax Corbin. Show us that humans can lead without tyranny." Jax felt a surge of satisfaction, but he knew the real challenge was only beginning. The galaxy was vast, and not all factions would accept him willingly. But humans had a unique trait: resilience, adaptability, ingenuity. And Jax planned to use every ounce of it. Back on the Ingenium, Jax convened his inner circle. "The Council has given us authority," he said, "but that is only the first step. There will be those who resist, those who try to sabotage, and those who doubt us. We must act quickly, strategically, and fairly. This is our chance to reshape the galaxy." Over the following months, Jax's plan unfolded. Using the device, he created energy grids for dying colonies, built transport networks that connected isolated systems, and repaired abandoned starships. Every move strengthened his influence and reputation. Alien rulers, even those who had once doubted him, began seeking alliances. A rival faction tried to attack one of his colonies, hoping to destabilize his network. But Jax anticipated their strategy. Using advanced communications and automated defenses, he diverted the attackers without destroying a single ship. The move impressed not only his allies but also the Council. Humans, it seemed, could win without war, using brains instead of violence. As his influence grew, so did his resources. Jax used wealth and knowledge to train new leaders, humans and aliens, teaching them strategy, diplomacy, and innovation. He created a council of his own advisors, a mix of species and perspectives, emphasizing collaboration over dominance. One night, as he gazed at the stars from the bridge, Lyra spoke softly. "Do you ever think about how it all started? 10 credits, a crate, and curiosity." Jax nodded. "I do. That small decision set everything in motion. But the choice to act wisely, to think ahead, and to value others' trust, that's what made the difference. Humans can adapt, but we also have to act with purpose. That's what separates leaders from followers." As months turned into a year, Jax Corbin became known across the galaxy not just as a wealthy human, but as a leader of unprecedented skill and vision. The Council acknowledged his accomplishments, and smaller factions began voluntarily joining his alliances. The galaxy, once indifferent to humans, now looked to them for solutions and guidance. Finally, the moment came to formalize his role. The council gathered again, this time in the Grand Hall of the capital. Representatives from hundreds of worlds watched as Voreth spoke. Jax Corbin has demonstrated brilliance, morality, and leadership. He has brought prosperity to sectors once thought lost, and has proven that humans are not minor players in the galaxy. By unanimous agreement, we recognize him as Emperor, a title not given lightly, but earned through ingenuity and service. Applause and murmurs filled the hall. Jax stepped forward, accepting the title with humility. He understood the weight of responsibility but also the opportunity. As Emperor, he could shape the galaxy not through fear, but through innovation, cooperation, and human ingenuity. In his first address to the galaxy, Jax spoke plainly, simply, and clearly. "I am not Emperor to rule with fear or force," he said. "I am Emperor to lead with knowledge, creativity, and fairness. Humans have survived and thrived because we adapt, think, and act together. Now we will show the galaxy that we can build a future for all species, a future of cooperation, progress, and hope." The galaxy listened, and for the first time in history, humans were recognized as innovators, leaders, and equals among the stars. In his private quarters later, Jax examined the crate that had started it all. The device sat quietly, humming softly. It had been the spark, but it was Jax's choices, his human ingenuity, and his courage that had turned a $10 gamble into a galaxy-wide transformation. He smiled. The journey was far from over, but humans had proven themselves. And Jax Corbin, the mechanic who had once struggled to survive, now ruled a galaxy that was wide, full of challenges and brimming with opportunities. A $10 crate had changed everything. And Jax had changed the galaxy.